From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up on AgDay, there's nothing mild about this celebration. We head to the World Championships to see what's this year's top cheese. The coronavirus and its impact on the markets continues.
It is something like I have never seen before.
And what it can mean for U.S. ag exports as USDA releases new supply-demand numbers for the commodity markets. But what do the numbers say about China? Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. The market's recovering a bit of their losses on Tuesday, and investors have new numbers to digest, with the USDA releasing a new supply and demand report. Getting right into the numbers, and USDA making no major changes for domestic corn, soybeans, and wheat supplies. Corn, no change, 1.89 billion bushels, slightly lower than trade average guesses. Soybeans, also unchanged, with ending stocks remaining at 425 million bushels. That's down 484 million from last year's record, and slightly lower than trade expectations. U.S. wheat supply and demand outlooks also unchanged this month, still sitting at 940 million bushels, again slightly lower than the trade guess. China still really not a factor in this report, except when it comes to sorghum, with China's imports raised, reflecting some recent buys from the U.S.
USDA added 15 million bushels to the sorghum export estimate, took it up to 135 million bushels. Now they partially offset by taking 10 million bushels out of the sorghum feed and residual usage estimate, but we still got a 5 million bushel reduction in sorghum carryover. So when we're talking about a 35 million bushel carryover, and you take, or a 40 million bushel carryover, you take 5 million out of that to get us down to 35 million bushels. That's a significant move for sorghum carryover. Makes me wonder what we've got left for exportable supplies of sorghum.
Flory says if sorghum supplies do in fact start to run short, it could push China to start importing other grains like corn and DDGs to fill their needs. Getting into world ending stocks, and this is where we see some changes. The corn forecast is for slightly higher production, consumption, and stocks, with ending stocks pegged at 297 million tons. Soybean production is raised 2.4 million tons, mainly on an increase for both Argentina and Brazil. And for wheat, USDA also calling for higher production, increased consumption, and exports, along with lower ending stocks, with higher production forecasts for India and Argentina. Stocks, they came in at 287 million tons.
They left the corn in Brazil unchanged, and I think that's potentially something that we could see reduced moving forward. Over the last month or so, we were talking about how the wet weather in Brazil was delaying harvest and on their soybeans, potentially impacting the planting of their safrinha corn crop, and now we're looking at a warmer and drier bias. And so I wouldn't be surprised if moving forward, if we start to see the Brazil corn estimates walk backwards a little bit.
Split says crop conditions in Argentina are also going backward. He says if that continues, then that country could see production and ultimately exports trend lower. But the great unknown for the markets continues to be the coronavirus. The market tanking on Monday amid fears about the virus and a big drop in oil prices. Wall Street higher on Tuesday, even surging more than 900 points early before briefly falling into the red and then back up again. The rise thanks to Vice President Mike Pence saying the nation's big health insurers would cover co-pays for coronavirus testing. Investors are likely to see more big swings until the number of infections from the new coronavirus decelerate. Market watchers also say they want a big coordinated response from the government and central banks. The price of oil also recovering more than $2 a barrel on Tuesday, but the World Trade Organization suspending all meetings until later this month after a staff member contracted the virus. We're seeing warmer temperatures, but many parts of the country are also in for something they didn't need, more rain. Meteorologist Cindy Clausen joins us with an update. Cindy.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to be seeing more rain in some of those already drenched areas. The focus today is actually going to be in the southern United States, not only in the southeast, but the southwest as well. Past 24 hours, you can see where the rain has been. But when you add on the next 24 hours, we're going to see a lot more rain coming into parts of Arkansas, into Mississippi and Alabama. Some of those areas, especially in those northern parts of the states, have been very, very wet. And we continue to see that active weather in the southwestern United States as well. And talk about too much moisture. Justin Houghton taking this video out in the field as he attempts to drive through one of his cornfields, saying the water is already about 10 inches deep. This is Steele, North Dakota, in the central part of the state. Many in the state still trying to harvest last year's crop, but situations like this aren't making it any easier. Coming up in just a few minutes, we'll take a look at that national forecast. Clinton?
And the possibility of more wet weather and maybe more prevent plant acres this year could help farmers decide between ARC or PLC safety net programs, but you have to decide soon, as the deadline to sign up is this Sunday.
We encourage producers, keep coming in, keep making your selections. We may even have some of those offices where not everybody is through the office with their appointment by the 16th of March. But get your appointment lined up, because sign up is scheduled to end the 16th of March. If you're in line, if you're on the register, we'll still take you and still continue to accept those appointments, but we need you in the office by the 16th with an appointment.
Whatever decision you make, it lasts through 2021. In this week's America's Conservation Ag Movement, Starbucks is testing out a new cup that's recyclable and compostable. The cups are still made from paper and should look and feel the same as normal cups, but the liner isn't plastic. It's compostable material made from natural resources like sugarcane, cassava, and corn. Even with these new cups, recyclers still have to separate the cup liner, which is why they're being tested in cities that have recycling places that can do that, including New York, San Francisco, Seattle, London, and Vancouver. We'll have more on the coronavirus and its impact on the market from the AgDay newsroom in analysis. And later, before coronavirus started, African swine fever was a major concern. We'll look at a new USDA plan to keep it out of the U.S. coming up in our pork report. Bayer says it's closing one of its sites for a short time after learning an employee is under investigation for possible coronavirus infection. The temporary closure affects the Bayer campus in Creve Coeur, Missouri. Bayer saying in a release it is implementing additional cleaning measures in common areas out of an abundance of caution. It says the employee has not been confirmed with the virus. Bayer is also temporarily closing the Climate Corporation City Place, 4 sites in St. Louis, as well as 2 campuses in New Jersey in order to clean common areas. The company adding that it's a fluid situation and it has no update on how long these closures will last. Commodity markets trying to claw their way back to the upside, with cattle finally seeing some improvements. Let's see how things close from the floor of the CME.
First of all, it's been turnaround Tuesday after yesterday's really sharp sell-off, specifically in the soybeans. We've regained some strength and taken back about half of yesterday's losses. Corn doing better than that, but it was also the USDA WASDE report Tuesday, which, by the way, I think a lot of us kind of forgot that this report was coming out here today, given all of the other outside market activities that have been influencing us coming into today. But we got through that USDA report without any major bearish shocks. What we're watching now is really what's happening with the stock market, what's happening with the crude oil market. After yesterday's huge declines, we saw the grains under pressure along with that, but here today we're not really seeing that. The grains are trying to come back. Cattle in particular have been following the stock market very closely because we're worried that a big drop in the stock market could cause less demand for especially the premium cuts of meat. So, we're worried about that. However, with a little bit of a rebound in the stock market today, we've seen a pretty significant rebound, limit up trade in the live cattle.
Chip, as we talk about what's been going on with markets over the last couple of days, the coronavirus pulling all of the headlines. We saw, that on Monday, that big run on the Dow. We saw our commodity markets take a hit. They've been trying to claw their way back. Do we know or have any idea where we go from here over the next couple of weeks? Is this an evolving black swan event?
It is something like I have never seen before, Clinton. We've seen some shocks come into the markets in the past, but it's kind of been from within the markets is where we get the shocks that really drive the volatility like we're seeing right now. For it to be an illness, a virus that is having this kind of impact on global equity trade, currency trade, treasuries. We've got the 10-year note under 0.5%. We've seen the 30-year bond, the yield on the 30-year bond trade under 1%. Now, there's some opportunities for farmers, maybe in refinancing some existing debt. It is absolutely astounding the impact that this coronavirus and all the headlines about the coronavirus are having on the markets.
You know, one of the things we've been waiting on is for China to step in and start fulfilling some of that phase 1 agreement. Of course, the coronavirus hitting right after we signed that agreement with them. Things seem to be on hold. Have you seen any thaw there that you would say, hey, here's an indicator? And I know we've had some export sales on and off here over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think they're going to continue to buy a few beans. I don't know if it's going to happen at a quick enough clip to have much of an impact on our bean prices, but it's going to be traditional off-season purchases of U.S. soybeans by China because they can do it without the tariffs now. Obviously, the big thing that we're all watching for is pork. That disruption is real. Right. It is, and we're starting to build stocks in cold storage facilities out on the West Coast. So we need to watch that. But when you look at the consumer price index in China, it's hard to believe, but the food component of the consumer price index was up 21.9% in February, year on year. Pork prices were up 135%, Clinton. This is their go-to meat. And for prices to be up 135% year on year, they've got to do something. They have got to get more pork in that country.
Join Andrew McCrae for Farming the Countryside, a farmer-focused podcast all about production agriculture. Brought to you by Pivot Bio Proven, the nitrogen-producing microbes that stay put, whether or not. Visit pivotbio.com.
Meteorologist Cindy Clausen joining us now to look at our national map. And Cindy, we kind of start out on the west coast where that looks like a kind of storm system is coming from the Pacific.
Yeah, and you know that low really has not made much movement in the past 24 hours, and that's going to continue to be the case over the next 24 hours. But that's one of the areas that is in more of a drought in the southwestern United States. So starting off in the southwest, this low has really not made much movement, and it's going to continue to just kind of sit and spin over the next 24 hours, bringing rain to the southwest. We'll also see some in the Four Corners region as well. Part of that on the tail end of this frontal system. We're going to see that low moving slowly to the southeast, so look for showers and thunderstorms in parts of the southeast today. A little cooler up in the Great Lakes. We'll see some snow and some rain as that low continues to move away, although weakening as it does. We're going to watch the northwest as well as another front enters that vicinity on into the northern plains and upper Midwest. So some scattered showers and even some thunderstorms in the southeast. We continue to see some areas of rain in the southwest. Here comes that front into the northern plains. So rain, but then some snow in some of those higher elevations and in the far northern stretches as well. Here is tomorrow morning. We're going to see some scattered showers as we get into the southeast. Still some rain, but especially down on the southern end of that front where we're seeing a lot of that moisture feeding in. And as we head through the day, we're going to see some rain and snow in parts of the Great Lakes, especially in the northern parts being that snow. And then we'll see some showers and thunderstorms continuing in the southeast. You see that moisture really increase in those afternoon hours in the southwest. Heading to our precipitation, we saw part of this, but let's show you all of it as we see that moisture, especially in the southern states. But we're going to see some of this in the form of snow in the upper Great Lakes. We're going to see some rain and even some snow in the far northeast as well. All right, so let's take a look at that snow, and this is what we're expecting over the next 24 hours. A lot of that's going to be in the higher elevations of the west, but you can see that system that's going to be moving across the northern United States. So we'll see a little bit mainly in the upper Great Lakes. So temperature-wise, wow, is it warm in the south as we see those temperatures in the 80s through a good chunk of Texas, and even in the northern areas, this is warm for this time of the year. Heading into the overnight hours, we're going to see those low temperatures starting to dip down into the 30s, but again, that's warm for this time of the year. And we'll see those overnight lows in the 60s and even near 70 in parts of the south. Taking a look at that jet stream, you see that kind of flatter flow, but that's going to change as a trough starts to dig into the northeast. A bigger one starts to come into the west, and another brief cutoff low as we get into the early part of next week. Some warm air to start off our week, and then heading further into the week, you can see that trough continuing for much of the western United States. So some cooler temperatures there while it remains warm in the east. That's a look at your national forecast. Now let's check on the weather where you live. Sunnyside, Washington, mostly sunny today with a high of 61 degrees. Cloudy, Oklahoma, mostly cloudy. Showers and thunderstorms possible with a high of 77. And Rainsville, Alabama, a chance for showers and thunderstorms, high of 69.
The coronavirus isn't the only threat to American agriculture. Up next, USDA's new plan to prevent the spread of African swine fever should it pop up here in the U.S. And later, get a taste of the best cheese in the world. An inside look at the World Championship Cheese Contest in Madison in the country.
Weathering the storm, a special report focusing on Mother Nature's potential impact on the 2020 growing season is coming to AgDay, U.S. Farm Report, and AgriTalk later this month. Brought to you by Pivot BioProven, the nitrogen-producing microbes that stay put, whether or not.
While the battle is underway against the coronavirus in the U.S., the USDA is taking steps to protect the pork industry should African swine fever be detected here in the country. USDA Undersecretary Greg Eibach announcing that if ASF was discovered, the Secretary would declare an extraordinary emergency. They would also have a coordinated national approach to control and eradicate it.
And so that will help make sure that not only will we have funding available immediately, but we will also have a coordinated strategy between the states. And I think that was one of the concerns, if it was left up to every state to decide if this state is different than that state. A lot of our pig farmers have operations in multiple states. And so this just helps us have some uniformity and consistency in a plan, and was quite welcome news for the pork industry last Friday.
To reduce paperwork, USDA plans to pay for virus elimination at a uniform flat rate based on the size of affected premises. Organizers of the All Tech Ideas Conference are the latest to announce the conference will be a virtual experience for this year. The annual event was scheduled for the middle of May in Lexington, Kentucky. Typically, about 3,500 people attend from 70 countries. But due to the coronavirus, organizers say they will present session topics online instead of having a live event. The event focuses on exploration of innovative solutions across the global food supply chain. There's a new champion in town. See what cheese earned top prize at the 2020 World Championships next. The best cheese in the world has been named. It's Gruyere from Switzerland, and it's claimed the top prize earlier this week at the 2020 World Championship Cheese Contest in Madison, Wisconsin. The cheese coming from Bern, Switzerland. The full name of the cheese, Gourmino Le Gruyere, AOP, was made by Michael Spiker of Mountain Dairy Fritzenhaus of Gourmino AG. Rebecca Sweeney of Wisconsin Cheesemaker Association talked with a member of the Swiss Cheesemakers Association about what went into making the winning wheel.
Wow, cheese fans, we have a new world champion cheese, and it is from Switzerland. It is this Gruyere, and what a beautiful piece of cheese this is. And we are so delighted that while the cheesemaker couldn't be with us tonight, we do have a representative from the Swiss Cheesemakers Association. Friends, this is Stefan Truppman. Stefan, congrats!
Thank you very much. Really much appreciate. So it's such an honor to win such a prize for Switzerland. So we love that. We enjoyed it being here. So it's a big honor. We're proud, and I hope we can bring this prize home to our cheesemaker.
Oh, I know you will. I know you will. So tell me, Stefan. So Stefan works for the Swiss Cheesemakers Association. He also happens to be one of our expert judges here. So he knows exactly how good this cheese is. Tell me a little something about this cheese. If I were to buy it, if I were to taste it, what would I get?
Well, you will get a hard cheese, a smear-ripened raw milk cheese. So this means it's actually this cheese is 13 months old. So it's got very tasty. It's quite creamy, although it's a hard cheese. He has got a lot of flavor due to the raw milk, and the raw milk comes from grass-fed cows. So they got a lot of good grass and herbs on the surroundings of this cheese factory, and therefore this is a very good cheese.
Now, I heard the judges talking about this cheese before we made the big announcement, and I know it was a lot of their favorite. Was it yours? Did you know it was going to win?
Yeah, I hope so. So yeah, it was also one of my favorites because I love this Gruyere cheese. This is, for me, it's like tradition and quality combined in one cheese.
Wow. Well, congratulations. We're so happy for you. It's a huge honor after 3,667 cheeses judged. This one came out on top, and stiff competition in the top 20.
And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.